You saw me earlier. I'm Kristen Weaver. I'm on the Globe Observer team at NASA Goddard Space Flight Center. And with Marley Colon Robles, we were sort of leading a lot of the Globe Observer Eclipse efforts. So I am going to give you a brief introduction to what we did to collect data during the eclipse and sort of the snapshot of the data we collected. And then all of these other folks are going to talk about some of the details of things because there was a lot happening for both the annular eclipse in October and then the total solar eclipse in April. So, the basic premise, the science premise was we have this neat natural experiment where the sun is blocked for a brief time. How is that going to affect the Earth's processes? And we first did these eclipse observations in 2017 with the eclipse that was in August of 2017, but then we were able to roll it out again for a couple of eclipses in South America and then again for the eclipses recently. But the basic question, the sun drives many processes in Earth's atmosphere. How does the eclipse affect these processes? And then the globe question, how can we measure that with the globe tools we have available, specifically with the Globe Observer app and things we can make available to sort of your just general observer, not even just trained teachers. So what we asked people to do was to document the landscape around them and try to include the thermometer they were going to use in one of their photos. That was something new that we hadn't been able to do, certainly in 2017, but we didn't have the landcover tool in the app at that point. So trying to sort of set the scene for the observations. Then we asked people to look at cloud changes every 15 to 30 minutes, or if they saw something happening in the sky. And then also ask people to get just a very simple thermometer and measure the air temperature and record that through the special Eclipse tool. So the idea was that obviously Globe teachers at any time can do air temperature if they've gone through the training. We wanted to open it up for more people to be able to do that as long as they got a separate thermometer. And part of the reason of having them include the thermometer in the photo was to make sure that they were actually thinking about, oh yeah, I need separate thermometer. I shouldn't just be looking at the weather app on my phone. We created a bunch of resources in handouts, how-to guides, paper data sheets to go along with this, and almost everything we did in English and Spanish. We did have a few things also in French, thanks to Lynn Chambers. We created some resources in terms of presentation guides, and then on the upper right, you can see some of the reels that we produced. You can see Marley starring in one there. So we tried to have a lot of resources to help people share information. Just a few examples of what you got in the app when you collected data. These are actually my observations from Arkansas. So there was the site I was collecting data at. You can see my Kestrel weather station set up there in the shade, and then some observations taken from the clouds. So we have data from all over Mexico, the US for April, and even into other parts of South America because of the eclipse in October. So this was the big one, and here's the data that we collected on April 2024. You can see almost 7,000 cloud observations, over 32,000 air temperature measurements. There's a caveat with that. We're still waiting on some from the Civil Air Patrol, and then the land cover observations there. So, pretty good amount of data that we collected. Just as a comparison, so I've got on the far right there is the October data from 2023, and then the previous eclipses, 2017, 2019, and 2020, that you can see. A little bit sparser data for the ones in South America, just went through less populated areas. And I will say, we didn't quite match our data from 2017 with the 2024 eclipse, but we still got a lot of data. So just a little bit, and these are some of the things you're going to hear more about going forward. This one I thought was just kind of neat. This was a meteorologist that Marley and I met in Mazatlan, at the AMS. I wish it was in Mazatlan. He was in Mazatlan. We met him at AMS in Baltimore, slightly less exciting. But he was really interested in Globe and actually set up data collection on board a ship off the coast of Mexico. So I think that was the first data we got from Totality. And then Teresa's going to talk more about the libraries that we engaged with, but there's one in the middle. I'll talk a little bit more about the Civil Air Patrol there that you see one of the Civil Air Patrol cadets on the right. And then we did things like news interviews and things like that. We had our globe resources at a lot of different NASA events. They called them sunspots. So this is actually the annular eclipse in Albuquerque, New Mexico, the balloon fiesta in the middle there. And there's Marley doing the cloud in a bottle. You can see the excitement on the kids' and adults' faces. And then Dorian is going to talk a little bit more about the work she did with the Texas Master Naturalists for the April and October eclipses. Just a little bit of a highlight just because I think this is kind of fun. So this is the meteorologist there on the right, Jeremy Lewin, and you can see his data points out in the water off the coast of Mexico. So I just thought that was kind of cool. But the Civil Air Patrol I wanted to give a shout out to. We don't have a separate lightning talk about that, but they were amazing. So this was just someone, Shannon Babb, who works with the Civil Air Patrol as a volunteer. It's not a paid job for her. And she saw the globe eclipse materials and reached out to us and said, hey, can I do something with the Civil Air Patrol? So they put together this whole project for October and April, including creating some of their own curriculum resources. The cadets were collecting data in, I think every state or almost every state around the country. I think every state and Puerto Rico. And they also, the Civil Air Patrol cadets who were like 12 to 17-year-olds went into classrooms and trained other students to do data collection. So it was just amazing. They did a lot of their data collection on paper data sheets. We don't have all of that in the database yet. So, what's that? Yes, okay. So there's some stuff from the Civil Air Patrol, and then I think I'm not going to show the video because it didn't show up anyway. But there's a pretty picture. So.